Today we're taking a look at the MetaRide from ASICS. .00 miles, 8 minutes, 35 seconds per mile in the ASICS MetaRide. Now, this is certainly one of the most unique looking shoes that I've ever run in or even seen. But before we get into the review, I want to go over a couple of disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that was sent to me early by Roadrunner Sports. Thank you to them for sending me this pair of shoes to review. They're not paying me to make the video though. ASICS is not paying me to make this video. No one's gonna have any editorial control over the video or see it before you guys get to see it live on YouTube. If you have any questions about any of the potential conflicts of interest or biases they may affect the opinions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm always trying to deliver the most transparency that I can when I talk to you guys about specific products. So if you have any concerns or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Now, in terms of this shoe, I don't actually know very much about it. I'm going into this relatively blind. I don't know if that was intentional. I tried doing a search for the MetaRide. Nothing has come up. The only thing that's come up has been information on the ASICS MetaRun, which was, I think, a very similarly inspired shoe that came out a couple of years ago. I'm not even sure that it was available in the US. I don't ever remember seeing it. But the upper looks very similar in terms of design language, but the midsole is definitely very different. Now, in terms of the MetaRun, which I never had a chance to run in, ASICS was trying to take all of its technology, the best of everything that it had, and put it into a single shoe, regardless of the cost, just to see the best of what ASICS could bring you, and that was the MetaRun. I think they've revamped it for the MetaRide, and this is what we have here. So let me break it down for you because there's a lot going on the shoe. On first glance, it looks like there's only like a small spot of knit material, but the knit material actually comes all the way from the side of the foot and wraps all the way around. This material all over here is knit as well, but behind it, there are a lot of supportive type pieces. I don't know if they're cardboard or whatever kind of pieces there are, but the knit is really comfortable, very breathable. You can wiggle your toes in there, plenty of space in the toe box. These are just very light overlays. It's really the only overlays that are on this. They don't get in the way at all. In the back of the heel, that's where a lot of the action is. And so we've got a lot of plastic and rubber. This heel cup is extremely stiff by the time you get back here. It even comes all the way up, like up towards your ankle. This part is really flexible, but it's still something that's there and giving you more structure than you would get if it was just knit material up here. And then around the heel cup and around any part that would touch your foot up by the ankle, there's super thick plush foam that's in here. And the padding continues even to the tongue. So even on the tongue, it's very super padded. I thought it would be hot. Granted, I've only run in this shoe a couple of times, so this is a first run, kind of first impression video. And even on those temperatures, it was around the freezing mark. So I didn't expect to be sweating in them as I was running in them, but I did think that I would get quite a bit of warmth here. I didn't really feel that. Maybe it's because I'm getting a lot of ventilation in through the top of the toes in the front. In terms of the lacing, getting my foot into this shoe was a little bit difficult because there's so much lacing going on here. There's 6 eyelets with an option for a 7th. I really had to do a lot of fidgeting to get the shoes loose enough to get my foot in it. Once I got them in there though, it's really comfortable. On this shoe, there is 2 layers of Flight Foam. Now my experience with Flight Foam is from the ASICS Dynaflight 2. And that's from about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago. That's my most recent experience with an ASICS. And I think what's going on here is that there's 2 layers of midsole foam. And so they feel a little bit different. This middle or upper midsole layer is much stiffer, and the bottom layer is a little bit softer, and I feel like I can kind of compress it and I can feel it squishing. So I don't know if they're both Flight Foam. I don't know if I'm just imagining it, if they're the same Flight Foam or if there's different densities of Flight Foam that are going on here. But there's 2 layers of foam with gel that's strategically placed within the shoe. So there's a little bit of ASICS gel here, and you could see it protecting your heel. And I believe there's another pocket of gel right in here, in right under the ball of the foot. Here is also a very interesting point, is they have the kind of the guide system that I've seen in a lot of ASICS shoes. They're taking it to a whole another level on this shoe. So they're cutting out the middle, or like the outer, this bottom layer of midsole, they've cut out in this huge channel here. And so you're seeing the middle or the upper midsole right here. And it's got speed holes, and it cuts through to here all the way, and that channel comes all the way through the end of the heel back here. I'm not sure what function this serves. Maybe it's architectural, maybe it's a design language. And then there's another cutout in the middle of the foot, right underneath the arch. At one point in this shoe, these holes kind of intersect. So like there's basically a plus sign of channels in this shoe. And then on the outsole, this material, it's rubber, but it's kind of like that crystal rubber that I've seen on some of the New Balance shoes, where it looks to me and it kind of feels like plastic. I'm pretty sure it is rubber, but it feels like plastic. And when I'm running around with it, I ran on some wet pavement, nothing too crazy yet, just coincidentally in the weather conditions that I had. But when my feet were wet and then I went into a very smooth surface, like indoor tile, this got really loud and squeaky. So that was just an interesting side effect. Underneath here, I believe we're looking at the Flight Foam on this bottom layer of the midsole, but just the way it looks to me when I'm looking at it, it looks like it's almost like felt. Like there's a layer of a soft fabric material under here. And I'm sure I'm just imagining it, and that's not really what's happening. I'm sure it's just what the Flight Foam looks like when it's not treated and kind of finished on the outside like it is down here. But in terms of the run experience, not only is this a weird looking shoe, it's a weird feeling shoe. When I first put this on, I was very surprised because this has a huge rocker in it. And so that feeling that you've felt if you run in a Nike Zoom Fly, where it feels like you're standing on the edge of a stair and then the shoe just kind of drops off, I get a huge effect of that on this shoe. I felt it in the Hoka Clifton 1, the 2018 re-release that I had, and I felt it in the Vaporfly as well. Those shoes, they have all this kind of feeling up in the forefoot where it feels like one shoe here, and then it just makes you do that as soon as you get to a certain point in your stride. And so walking around in this shoe and not knowing much about it, I thought that maybe this was supposed to be a faster shoe from ASICS, but I don't think that's what it is. It's a little bit on the heavy side. It's actually quite heavy. I don't know the actual weight, but in hand it feels heavy, and on foot, while it's still relatively balanced, you still notice that the weight is there. And so for my first run, when I was running in like the mid 8s per mile, it took a little bit of effort to get there, and I felt like I was working a little harder than I probably needed to run at that pace. Although, when you're just on the toes of this shoe, because it's a very stiff shoe, it's really nice and springy, and it's an interesting feeling. But there's just so much shoe going on here, it takes a lot of effort to get to that point. A lot of times I found myself landing kind of right here in my stride, running in this shoe. And that felt unusual to me. Recently, I had a chance to go down to Roadrunner Sports and try out their custom insole system. And I got fitted with an insole that had an arch support on it. And that resulted in me, it was a little bit of an unusual feeling where I felt a lot of fatigue across the middle of the foot because there was something pushing on my arch where there previously hadn't been really anything pushing. And I felt that a lot here. And I don't know if that's because of the design of this cutaway or what it is, but when I land on this part of the foot as I'm striking the ground, it felt like I was landing on a bubble in the shoe. And not a bubble like a Zoom Air Pocket, but like a bubble as if like I had stepped on something rather large with a slight curve to it, which I guess kind of makes sense. I did still get a lot of the rocker motion, and I got a lot of the springiness from at the toe, but it just was an awkward feeling. So that was my natural place that I wanted to hit on this shoe, and I felt like I was hitting the shoe wrong. And so I took this shoe out on another run a couple days later for my run commute home. And at that point, I was on a day 10 of a 10-day run streak. My legs were pretty much shot and I was really tired. And that's where I really enjoyed this shoe a lot more, because then I wasn't really able to pick up my feet and get up on the toes of this shoe. And I was doing a lot more of heel toe type running. And that's where this shoe, I think, really shines. If you are a heel toe runner, this, I think, does a fantastic job. And that's where I think I'm utilizing all of the ASICS technology. Everything from when I'm landing on the back here, feeling smooth transition as I go through the entire stride, and it's kind of pushing me off as I'm going forward. And so I can't say it's completely offsetting the feeling of the weight, but it was a really comfortable shoe to run in as I'm going heel toe. Ultimately, I'm not sure that this shoe is for me. And that's because of the other thing, that I think that the price for this is going to be $250. So that is quite a bit of money to spend on a shoe that I'm not racing with. And so for me, if I'm going to be spending anything near that category, that's got to be something extremely special that I'm going to be relying on those days that I'm spending a quarter of the year thinking about, right? So that's kind of like, that's where that $250, that benchmark price point, that's shots fired. You're going after Vaporfly, you're going after the Reebok Float Ride Run Fast Pro. I think those are all the words in the right order for that shoe. And this as something that's going to be as more of a, I don't know if it's a daily trainer, it is a little bit hard for me to swallow. So I'm going to take this as more of like a concept shoe from ASICS. This is an interesting idea. The idea of taking all the technology and putting it into a single shoe. This shoe works, and I'm going to run some more in it to get a better feel for it. But it's hard to recommend at a $250 price point. But what I'm hoping from this is a trickle-down effect to some of its other shoes. I think the best use case for this, because there is a lot of room in the toe box, because everything about it is so plush and comfortable, I think it's for people that are wanting to get into longer runs, but the current long run shoes maybe are too constrictive for them, or maybe they don't have a wide toe box. It's for people who are wanting to push themselves a little bit harder and want something that can support them in the way that they need it in terms of cushioning and in terms of supportive structures and features. I think I'm really going to need to put this on a much longer run to see if that makes any sense. So stay tuned. There's a lot to unpack on this, and I think just running in it 2 times for about 14 miles total is not enough. There's more to tell in this story, I think. I think I've got a pretty good feel for what the shoe is, but the investigation continues. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments about it. I'm sure you guys will have a lot to say. I look forward to hearing it. If there's anything that you want me to specifically look out for on my next couple of runs in the shoe, let me know in the comments so that way I could specifically address those in subsequent videos. And before I go for today, I want to talk about a charity runner for the week. It's his last day of the week being the charity runner. It's Joel Moody. He's running the 2019 London Marathon for Prostate Cancer Research Centre in the UK. And their goal is to make it so that no man ever has to die from prostate cancer, ever. So a very worthy cause. I've donated $70 to Joel's fundraising efforts, and I'll post a link in the description in case you'd like to learn more. Thanks so much for watching this video, everybody, and making it all the way to the end. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?